Let us start the Indian economy. Quick facts useful for all competitive exams, UPSC, Group 1, 2, 3 and 4 and all other exams. So the characteristics of Indian economy. When you see the characteristics of Indian economy, the three major characteristics are: Indian economy is agriculture predominant, low per capita income and massive unemployment. So when we talk about the Indian economy, we get three parameters, that is agriculture predominance, low per capita income and massive unemployment. So agriculture predominance one, when we see the GDP, the major bulk of the employment goes to agriculture. Low per capita means the income capacity, the earning capacity of the citizens is very less, and massive unemployment. In this unemployment we get disguised unemployment also, and instead of unemployment we are facing a problem of underemployment now. More than unemployment, we are facing a problem of underemployment. Next, in the last decades we had a term called Hindu rate of growth. What is Hindu rate of growth? Growth rate of gross domestic product, that is GDP, was very low, just 3 to 4%, was known as Hindu rate of growth. The next point is unorganized sector. What is unorganized sector? Unorganized sector is something which is outside the purview of government. Outside the purview of government. We have, when we see any economy, we will have two sectors. One is your organized sector and one is unorganized sector. The organized sector, which is under the purview of government, we call it as organized sector. Unorganized sector is largely outside the purview of government. We estimate the data of unorganized sector on interpolation basis. When we see Indian economy, unorganized sector generates more than 80% of the total employment in our economy. Next we have growth rate of per capita income. Growth rate of per capita income at current prices and growth rate of per capita income at constant prices. Now when we see the relation between the growth rate of per capita income at current prices and constant prices, we see that the per capita income at current prices is always greater than per capita income at constant prices. What is the reason? Because the price level rise is the reason. The inflation is the reason. Next, what does the tax to GDP ratio means? It indicates, the tax to GDP ratio indicates measure of how well the government control a country's economic resources. This is very important. What do we mean by tax to GDP ratio? It indicates how well the government controls a country's economic resources. Now, we get, if any economy have low tax to GDP ratio, it means that there is a pressure on the government to meet its fiscal deficit targets. What is fiscal deficit target? So if the expenditure of the government is 100 rupees and in the form of revenue we are getting only 60 rupees, the balance is 40 rupees. Now the government has to take a debt and make it sure that your 100 rupees is, what you can say, managed. So if we have low tax to GDP ratio, it shows that government is facing problems in meeting its fiscal deficit targets. Next, what are LPG reforms? LPG reform stands for liberalization, privatization and globalization. It was brought into the in the year 1991 when former Prime Minister of India, D. then was Finance Minister under the Prime Ministership of, who was the Prime Minister during 1991 when LPG reforms were introduced? P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. Then we have liberalization, means easing out the process, following a liberal economic policies. Then you have privatization, means selling out the government share in the PSUs or government companies. And globalization means inviting the foreign companies to come and invest in India. Normally we have globalization, we have FDI and FII. The major aim of these LPG reforms were to gain forex. In 1991, we were on the brink of BOP crisis. Then we took loan from International Monetary Funds, and to repay it back, we liberalized our economy. Till 1991, we were a closed economy. We never invited any other company, foreign company, to invest in India. So after 1991, we got the foreign income in the form of FDI and FII. What is FDI? Foreign direct investment. And we get FII also. What is FII? Foreign institutional investments or foreign portfolio investments. The example of FDI, foreign companies come here, establish their companies and give employment also, generate employment also. The best example was Vodafone. They established the centers here and gave employment to many Indians. This FII, foreign portfolio investment or foreign institutional investment, they invest their money in share markets. Share markets and secondary markets. There is no guarantee that the money will be in India. At any time they can take out their money. Now recently we have Adani crisis. Many of the foreign companies has taken out their monies. If there is no stability, then there is known as outflow of money. And because of the foreign investment, and what is the effect if the foreign companies take all their monies outside? If they exit from Indian companies, the secondary market, what is the effect? Our rupee will depreciate. And the value of our rupee will come down with respect to the foreign market, with respect to the dollars. And in turn, because the money is going out, our rupee is depreciating, and in their side effect, our inflation will increase. So we got LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization and globalization, which was started in 1991. Now what happened there? Because of LPG, there was decrease in the share of agriculture in GDP, has been balanced by share of services sector. Now we have read that GDP consists of three sectors. One is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Tertiary sector is known as services sector. Now if someone asks you what is the result of LPG reforms in India with respect to GDP and share of the sectors, we can say one line: the share of the GDP in agriculture has come down and the share of services sector has gone up. It was a result of LPG reforms. Then when you come to some microeconomics concept, microeconomic concepts have marginal product concept. And in marginal product, if the marginal product increases, what happens if marginal product declines, and what happens if marginal product is zero? Then, now first parameter, if the marginal product increases, marginal means it is increased by 1, decrease means decrease by 1, or marginal product is 0, it means it is a constant. So marginal product increases, then the result of increase of marginal product is total product goes up at increasing rate. Total product goes up at increasing rate. If the marginal product declines, then the total product increases. Here the product means the total cost. The total product increases at diminishing rate, at reducing rate. Then if the marginal product is 0, then the total product reaches its maximum. So this is the concept of microeconomics. Now let us see what is inclusive growth. What do you mean by inclusive growth? Inclusive means you are including every sector of the economy, every part of the economy. If we summarize what is inclusive growth in keywords, Inclusive growth means equitable allocation of resources, giving importance to all as per their requirement. Inclusive growth means generation of employment to all the sections of the society. Inclusive growth means universalization of PDS. What is PDS? Public distribution system. Now we have ration shops in every nook and corner of the country. We have ration shops. They are also known as, their official name is fair price shops. Their official names are fair price shops, but we call it as ration shops in our regional languages. So what is inclusive growth? Inclusive growth means equitable allocation of resources. Inclusive growth means generation of employment. Inclusive growth means universalization of PDS. What is PDS? Public distribution system. Now, in India, because of the COVID, the government of India is providing free ration to almost 80% of the peoples in India. This government, the present government after COVID, is providing ration to the poor people, 80 crore people in India through PDS system, that is public distribution system. Then, now we see, when you see the population, when you see the area, we can divide the population into, we can divide the country into two parts or into two classify. One is urban area and one is rural area. Now when you talk about the urban area, we see high population in urban areas. What can one of the reasons? What can be one of the reasons? Reasons for high population in urban areas. Net migration from rural areas. Now people coming from rural areas, they come from rural areas to urban areas in search of good opportunities. In search of good opportunities such as good employment, good education and the good lifestyle, or to make their standard of living a respectable one, right? So we have competition. What is competition? Competition means, what is a competition?
When the product is
It is a rivalry. It is a rivalry. Competition is nothing but friendly rivalry. Now, when you see the types of competition, the very first type of competition is perfect competition. What is a perfect competition? What is a market? A market where selling and buying takes place. Now, selling and buying, the person who sells is known as seller and a person who buys is known as buyers. Now, in a perfect competition, the total number of sellers will be equal to total number of buyers, right? So, in perfect competition, if we analyze perfect competition, the very first point is number of sellers is equal to number of buyers. Then we can also analyze, we can also understand the perfect competition by all companies sell identical processes. All companies sell identical processes. Their market share doesn't influence the price. Their market share doesn't influence the price. For example, we have refrigerators. We have n number of companies in refrigerators and they are all identical. If we see the price of these articles or the commodities they sell, they are all identical, right? So it is known as perfect competition. And in perfect competition, companies exit and enter without barriers. Companies exit and enter without barriers. It is assumed that the buyers have complete information. The buyers have complete information about the product they are selling, and the companies can't determine the prices. The supply and demand will determine prices, right? So this was your perfect competition. Now what is monopoly? Monopoly is a market structure. Monopoly is characterized by a market structure where there is only single seller and there is a unique product in the market. There is unique product in the market. Can you give example? For this monopoly there is no competition or zero competition and there is no substitute also. There is only one thing. There is no substitute also. Can you think about some examples? For example, Son Satya. There is no competition at all. Monopoly. Now, what is the opposite of monopoly? Your homework will be to give example. Think and write the example of monopoly. Now, what is monopsony? Monopsony. Monopoly is single buyer. Monopsony is single
seller.
Monopoly is single seller. Monopsony is single buyer. सिर्फ एक ही जना खरीदता बस. There are no other buyers in the market. So monopsony, it is a market structure and there is only single buyer. Right? Next. Now what is a monopolistic competition? Monopolistic competition is an example of imperfect competition. Imperfect competition. Many producers competing against each other. Products are not perfect. Products are not perfect. Next. What is oligopoly? What is an oligopoly? Small number of firms, small number of companies, suppliers and broad range of sectors. There are only few sellers and homogeneous products. So what is oligopoly? Small number of firms, suppliers and broad range of sectors. Clear point? Next. We have already seen unorganized sector. Unorganized sector has how much percentage of employment in our economy? We have seen just 5 minutes ago. Greater than 80% of total employment in our economy. Now, how do you characterize this? Unorganized sector is also known as informal sector. Unorganized sector is also known as informal sector. It is outside the control of government. Outside the control of government. They are not registered with the government. It's not like they are out of the control, but they are not registered with the government. Now, examples of unorganized sector, we have weavers, we have handlooms, we have fisher folks, we have toddy tappers. These are all what you call as toddy tappers.
Informal.
It is unorganized sector, informal sector, etc. Now, CSO. What is CSO? Let us discuss some of the institutions or organizations relating to our economy. CSO. What is CSO?
Central Statistical Organization.
Central Statistical Organization. What does Central Statistical Organization do? It gives national income estimates in India. CSO is Central Statistical Organization. What is the work of CSO? National income estimates in India. What are the parameters of national income? What is national income?
The income from individual.
All the income which is earned by our India people. Now, what is GDP? GDP is nothing but
Gross domestic.
gross. What are the forms of national income? We have GDP, we have GNP, we have NDP, we have NNP, and per capita income also. So, who give us national income estimates? National or Central Statistical Organization, CSO. Now, let us discuss about Planning Commission. What is Planning Commission? Planning Commission.
5-year plans.
Planning Commission was constituted by after our independence. We got our independence. The first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, constituted Planning Commission. It was an example of extra constitutional body. It worked from 1950 to 2014. Its chairman was Prime Minister. Its chairman or you can say President was Prime Minister, and his Vice Chairman was the last Vice Chairman of Planning Commission. They can ask you, Montek Singh Ahluwalia. Montek Singh Ahluwalia. So Planning Commission has been disbursed in 2014 and it has been replaced by Niti Aayog. The same similar structure to Planning Commission. And with Planning Commission we had NDC also. We had National Development Council. We had a dual structure. And the major role was Planning Commission to make the 5-year plans. As we know that from our independence till 2012, we followed 5-year plan structure. 5-year plans, we had 12 5-year plans. In total, we had 12 5-year plans. We ended the 12 5-year plans in which year?
2014.
20?
Last 2014.
The last 5-year plan was still. So please find it out. We started 5-year plans, and when did we finish it off? And when did we move to Niti Aayog plans, the long-term plans? 3-year, 7-year, and 15-year plans. Then you have Reserve Bank of India. What is Reserve Bank of India? Where is the headquarters of Reserve Bank of India? Where is the original headquarters of Reserve Bank of India? Mumbai, Kolkata was the original headquarters. Reserve Bank of India is a statutory body, came into existence on 1st April 1935. Originally it was established in Kolkata as per RBI Act 1934. The headquarters of RBI was moved from Kolkata to Mumbai in 1937, and it was nationalized on 1st January 1949. So please remember, Reserve Bank of India is a statutory body nationalized in 1949. Now when we see Central Statistics Organization, Central Statistical Organization, what is the role of Central Statistical Organization? To estimate the national income. It comes under which ministry? The CSO comes under which ministry? MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MOSPI. It was constituted in May 1951 under Cabinet Secretary in the PC Mahalanobis time, and it is an institute of national importance. Now we have GDP. The GDP is calculated at two prices. What are the two prices?
Market price.
GDP at market price and GDP at factor cost. What is the factor cost? The cost for 4 factors of production: land, labor,
Machinery.
capital, and entrepreneur, the managerial skills. Okay. So when we talk about GDP at market price, what does it include?
Subsidy.
What does it include and what it does not include?
Direct tax, indirect taxes excluded.
Market price. When it comes to the market,
Plus direct taxes minus subsidy.
indirect taxes.
Okay.
GDP at market price is equal to GDP at factor cost plus indirect taxes minus subsidies. GDP at factor cost, GDP at factor cost is equal to GDP at market price plus subsidies minus taxes. Right. Next, what is macroeconomics? What is macroeconomics? What do we study in macroeconomics? Macroeconomics is, we talk about general level of prices. What are general level of prices? Inflation. The general level of prices is inflation. We talk about general supply. We talk about market supply. We talk about GDP. We talk about unemployment. We talk about government debt. We talk about country credit guarantee. We talk about CGR, that is country credit ratings. Right. So you get a question, what is macroeconomics? What do we learn in macroeconomics? So general price level, that is inflation, general supply, market supply, GDP, that is national income, inflation, unemployment, government debt, countries credit ratings, etc. So this is all about macroeconomics. Now what is macroeconomics? In macroeconomics we talk about consumer demand, single individual, single firm, we talk about substitution, we talk about elasticity, we talk about opportunity cost, and we talk about margin curves, and we talk about marginal theories. Next, the common question which we come across is social forestry. What is social forestry? Social forestry is to reduce the urbanization in rural areas. Reduce the urbanization in rural areas. Now, what do you mean by reduce urbanization in rural areas? So, when we develop, every development starts with destruction. Now, in village areas, we have forests, we have trees and everything. To start, when the urbanization starts, when the people start relocating there. When people start coming and they start development process. So we have a concept called social forestry to reduce urbanization in rural areas. Now we have IMR. These are the social indicators in any economy. What is social economy? We have IMR. What is IMR? IMR is infant mortality rate. Infant means the small children. Its formula is number of infant deaths.